That snaps for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff, but.
Angel Rashad Milligan rolling out.
That's a good question.
Brandon,
we can't ask Rashad questions.
Hey, Rashad.
All right, cool. What's next? Alabama denies man self-defense. So let's pull this up. I saw this earlier this morning, and I was like, oh, it would be interesting to react to. Okay, hold on. Let me read the caption before we press play. Alabama police officer who Stephen Perkins 18 times during a truck repossession is denied qualified immunity and charged with unaliving. Wow. And he's smiling. Is this his mugshot? It's got to be his DMV shot, bro. If he's smiling in his mugshot, that's
You're watching News 19. We start with breaking news.
And we are leading off the 5 with new information on breaking news out of Decatur at this hour. A judge has denied the claim of self-defense from a former Decatur police officer in the shooting death of Stephen Perkins.
Now the murder case against Marquette is set to go before a jury this summer. News 19's investigative reporter Dallas Parker joining us with this major breaking development.
That's right. In the last hour, Judge Charles Elliott issued a 17-page order finding that Marquette did not prove he acted in self-defense in the shooting death of Stephen Perkins. Under Alabama law, an immunity hearing gives a defendant an opportunity.
I'm sorry, bro. It's like when you're a movie director and like you go to film class, you just like notice everything, like the little switch circuits and stuff like that. As being in journalism, you see like this is North Alabama. So this is like, they say Decatur, but this is like Alabama A&M and them and stuff like that. Shout out to the Hill. Shout out to the SWAT. But yeah, man. Up there, it's a smaller market. I say all that to say that. I'm sorry. And you can see like, or what I noticed was this reporter, Dallas Parker, she looks pretty young. This might be her first job out of school. This might be her second job out of school, her first 3 jobs out of school. I just wish the best for this young lady. Miss Parker reports. Y'all make sure y'all go support her. All the good things. Best of luck on her journey. If she happens to see this, feel free to reach out anytime. On social media, I got my email in the description of my videos and stuff like that. So feel free to reach out anytime. I'd be happy to help you navigate because the industry can be tricky and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyways, let me get to the actual report.
With this major breaking development.
That's right. In the last hour, Judge Charles Elliott issued a 17-page order finding that Marquette did not prove he acted in self-defense in the shooting death of Stephen Perkins. Under Alabama law, an immunity hearing gives a defendant an opportunity to provide evidence that they were justified in using deadly force. But the defendant has the burden of proof, and Judge Elliott found today Marquette did not meet that burden. Now, Marquette's immunity hearing lasted 2
So he went for what? I'm sorry.
Judge
Let me run it back.
News 19's investigative reporter Dallas Parker joining us with this major breaking development.
That's right. In the last hour, Judge Charles Elliott issued a 17-page order finding that Marquette did not prove he acted in self-defense in the shooting death of Stephen Perkins. Under Alabama law, an immunity hearing gives a defendant an opportunity to provide evidence that they were justified in using deadly force. But the defendant has the burden of proof, and Judge Elliott found today Marquette did not meet that burden. Now, Marquette's immunity hearing lasted 2 days. Witnesses included the tow truck driver who tried to repossess Perkins' truck.
This man's smiling, bro. It's crazy. But I guess, hey, keep your head high, spirits high when you hoping for good results in the court of law, right? What is going on in Alabama, bro? They had the whole Carly Russell situation a couple years ago. I guess just Alabama being Alabama.
2 days.
Free MK Slime. Slimeball MK. If Slimeball MK still locked up, free Slimeball MK, bro. Real Birmingham B-Ham legend for sure. Shout out Baby Rich, real B-Ham legend. If you know, you know. Shout out Flo Millie, man.
This has included the tow truck driver who tried to repossess Perkins' truck, 2 Decatur officers on the scene that night, and an Aaliyah investigator. While the defense argued the officers were there to help the tow truck driver, prosecutors said the officers' actions led to a deadly escalation at the scene. Now, the judge's order includes a narrative of the final seconds before Marquette shot Perkins. After Perkins confronted the driver again, Marquette yelled, "Hey," and Perkins turned back toward Marquette. The light from Perkins' gun can be seen moving underneath his truck, and Marquette shouted, "Police, get on the ground." as Marquette gave the order for.
Wait, hold on. I gotta run it. I'm sorry. I had to follow what they're saying, because if I don't, like, then it's just pointless for me. I just end the video. But I want to know what they're saying.
Officers on the scene that night and an Aaliyah investigator.
Okay.
Now, Marquette's immunity hearing lasted 2 days. Witnesses included the tow truck driver who tried to repossess Perkins' truck, 2 Decatur officers on the scene that night, and an Aaliyah investigator. While the defense.
So they came to repossess his truck. They came to put his truck on the little repossession truck. Okay. So I guess you ain't taking my car. You ain't taking my car. Chill out. He said, hey, chill. He said, is that a weapon? And because he see a light poking from under the car, and he's
argued the officers were there to help the tow truck driver. Prosecutors said the officers' actions led to a deadly escalation.
Wait, he was a tow truck driver? Yeah, I gotta read this to keep up with what's going on, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Stephen Perkins. It's apparently a drummer's name, whose name is Stephen Perkins as well. Stephen Perkins, Alabama. A little hard when I'm all love with the stuff. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm going to read this from AL.com just to at least know what's going on. Alabama judge ruled on Monday that a police officer did not prove that he was acting in self-defense when he blinked an armed black man who was standing in his front yard after body camera footage revealed that the officer firing 18 less than 2 seconds after identifying himself as law enforcement. Mac Marquette, 25. Oh, 25, bro. What is you even doing on the force like that? Like, yes. Charged with the unaliving of the blink of Steve Perkins shortly before 2 a.m. on September 29, 2023. So if he's 25 right now, that joker was like, what? Like 23? Come on, bro. While accompanying a tow truck driver to repossess Perkins' pickup truck in his home of Decatur. Morgan County Circuit Judge Charles Elliott denied Marquette's motion to dismiss the case in a self-defense immunity hearing. The new trial date is set for June, but the defense can appeal Elliott's decision with the state appellate court. Alabama's Stand Your Ground law grants immunity from prosecution to any individual who uses force as long as they are in a place where they have the right to be and reasonably believe they are in danger. Elliott wrote that the jury will have to consider whether Marquette was acting in a capacity as a police officer when he blinked Perkins. It was on this hinge that the door of this case swings. Okay. Tow truck driver Caleb Combs was authorized by Perkins' creditor to repossess the truck because Perkins was month behind him. Okay, I'm caught up now. So what I thought originally was true. It was Perkins' car that was a tow truck driver. So it's 3 parties involved. The tow truck driver, Caleb Combs, Perkins, the guy who's getting repossessed, and the police. It's those 3 involved. According to the lien documents entered into evidence. Hold on, let me mark this out. Can't get copyright for that. According to the lien documents entered into evidence, but the ruling said that Marquette wasn't authorized to assist Combs based on Alabama law. Okay, so it was saying, so Marquette was a police officer. So they're saying the law said that the police officer can't help the repossession guy get the car on the truck because that's against Alabama law, which requires a court order for law enforcement to be involved in the repossession, which the officers didn't have. So he was somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be, and the man ended up unalive. Crazy. The judge heard conflicting testimony in the early hearing of why Marquette and other 2 officers, Joey Williams and Christopher Mukadam, were at Perkins' house in the first place. Marquette, Mukadam, and Williams were dispatched to help Combs after Perkins pointed a weapon at his chest when the tow truck driver first tried to take Perkins' vehicle, according to the testimony from Williams and Mukadang. Combs met the officers at a nearby tow truck. Combs waited for 3 officers to set up covertly around Perkins' house around the time Combs returned to repossess Perkins' vehicle for a second time. All three officers were intentionally hidden from Perkins' front door when Combs returned, and Perkins again emerged from his house with a gun pointed it at Combs. Oh, so the dude who was getting his car taken pointed his gun at the pointed his blank at the repossession driver, at the repo man. I mean, I don't know why you doing that, bro. You don't watch repo in Miami? Like, if they're gonna take your stuff, they're gonna take your stuff. Body cam footage revealed that Marquette unloaded all the things inside of his weapon in less than 2 seconds after he emerged from where he was hiding on the side of his house. Even then, the judge wrote Marquette was partially obstructed by the bed of Perkins' truck. Perkins turned to face Marquette and briefly tried to remove. So he came out on some FBI, open up, pow, pow, pow. Crazy, bro. Grew up watching too many movies. That boy is 23 years old. What was a 23-year-old doing making a fatal decision like that as an officer, bro? But I guess since Buddy allegedly had his gun out at the repo man, that was all the excuse he needed. Body cam footage revealed that Marquette unloaded all the bullets in less than 2 seconds after he emerged from the side of the house, hiding in Perkins' house. Even then, the judge wrote Marquette was partially obstructed by the bed of Perkins' truck. Perkins turned to face Marquette and briefly tried to remove his gun away from the officer before Marquette started shooting, according to Elliott. Before Combs returned to Perkins' house, the order said that the officer should have told Combs that he could take whoever he wanted with him to assist the repossession, but it could not be law enforcement without the judicial process. Both officers who were with Marquette testified that they were trying to keep the peace and investigate Perkins for pulling a gun on Combs, which could be a misdemeanor charge of menacing if Combs had decided to press charges. The state agent who investigated the case testified that it was standard for police to accompany people to help maintain order, but he also said that typically visibility is required to keep the peace, and that the way that the officers set up that was unusual for investigating menacing because it's a method typically used for an active crime investigation. Because there is no active crime, when officers arrived, Elliott ruled that Marquette was acting outside the scope of authority to investigate menacing allegation and therefore a trespasser. When he waited outside in Perkins' house, Elliott said the jury will have to decide whether Marquette was at Perkins' house to keep the peace. Based on the determination, the ruling read, the jury will have to decide on both whether it means whether Marquette was acting within the scope of his responsibilities as a police officer and whether a responsible officer would have unalived Perkins in the same situation. Okay, let's go back to the video.
At the scene. Now, the judge's order includes a narrative of the final seconds before Marquette shot Perkins. After Perkins confronted the driver again, Marquette yelled, "Hey," and Perkins turned back toward Marquette. The light from Perkins' gun can be seen moving underneath his truck, and Marquette shouted, "Police, get on the ground." As Marquette gave the order, for the light from Perkins' gun passed over Marquette 3 times. Now, as Marquette said the word "on," Perkins' gun light moved above Marquette and raises above the roof of Perkins' home. As the word "ground" is being said, Marquette fired the first of 18 rounds. Perkins fell after 4 shots, and Marquette kept firing until he fired every single bullet in his gun. The court found from the time Marquette yelled "hey" to Marquette firing his weapon, 1.4 seconds had elapsed. This is taken from Judge Elliott's review of the evidence presented during the hearing. Now, the judge said the matter
he was playing Grand Theft Auto on that piece.
Came down to 2 questions. Was Marquette acting in the scope of his employment, and were his actions consistent with what a reasonable officer would have done in his situation? Judge Elliott then wrote, Agent King has testified that if the defendant was going to Perkins' residence to assist Combs in the repossession, then he was acting outside of the scope of his employment as a law enforcement officer. However, if the officers were there to keep the peace, then these 2 questions of fact can only be answered by a jury. Now, in the ruling, the judge also rescheduled Marquette's murder trial that was set to start next week. He's moved it to June 9th. Marquette can appeal this immunity hearing ruling before his trial starts, so we will have to wait and see if they decide to pursue that appeal.
Wow. What a story. What a story. That's crazy. That's some crazy stuff. I ain't gonna lie to you. And it's got 3 million views, 40,000 likes today. But geez Louise, that's huge. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. Speaking of, I might as well since I'm on here, but I'm about to end. Especially if nothing's here. Yeah, nothing's here. Okay, bet. All right. That's it. That's it for me tonight. I was once again going to react to Drewski. Not could have been reading, but his cam footage and stuff like that when he was arrested and stuff. But I'm not gonna do that tonight because I was already falling asleep through reading the words of these stories and things of that sort. So slurring my words, I wasn't there. I didn't nap today. I napped yesterday before yesterday's stream and stuff like that, but I didn't nap today because the game was so good, bro. The Golden State Houston game was so good. The NBA playoffs have been so good so far this year and stuff like that. So anyways, if you are new to the channel, this is the road to 5K subs. As always, I'm Rashad Milligan. Until next time, please take care of yourselves. And if nobody else told you, I care about you.
That snaps for losers, man. I don't get involved in that stuff, but.
Angel Rashad Milligan rolling out.
Brandon, we can't ask Rashad a question.
Hey, Rashad.